Look at the sort of three clubs in the main who are considered to be in a title race. They've all had this period of being questioned inside 7 games, Jamie, haven't they? City with those 2 defeats, Arsenal for not being adventurous enough when they went to Anfield, and Liverpool are in that period at the moment.
Yep, absolutely, and I think it might be that kind of season. I genuinely believe that. If you were to ask me whose shoes you'd like to be in right now, you'd have to say Arsenal. And that was before a game where people were questioning if they lose at Newcastle, are they out of the title race? And that's how quickly things can change. You know, Liverpool were unbelievable last year. I use the analogy that they climbed a mountain. They had so much togetherness. They were a desire to go and win the title as a team. And everything was spot on. You know, they had players that were playing at the peak of their form, you know, Virgil van Dijk and Mohamed Salah, and everything was absolutely right. And they blew teams away in the first half of the season. This year, it's not going to be the case. And I just look at Arsenal and I see that they almost have what Liverpool had last year. And Liverpool have to somehow turn it around and get that sort of togetherness back and that belief, because it's sometimes, I wasn't lucky enough to win a title, but when you can see when a team are going to win it, and United were relentless at it, you can see that they knew what they had to do, and that's what Liverpool have to find again. And it's a little wobble. I said use an analogy, it's a mini crisis, but they will get through it because the players they've got are too good for it not to happen, but they need players to get back in form. Manchester City have got the know-how, as Michael well knows. You mentioned it earlier on how many titles they've won. This is Arsenal's first time, and I think right now, for me, they are the favourites. The squad that they've built and the players that they've brought in gives them a real advantage.
But you don't think that they could necessarily be as relentless as previous title winners have maybe been because of the nature of the league?
Well, I don't think what Arsenal can.
Yeah.
No, they have the look. They have that look.
They could be as relentless as, say, Liverpool last season.
I think right now they're the ones to beat. You know, I think when I watched them at Newcastle, that was such a big moment for them. And we're talking 7 games in. Years ago, we didn't even put the league table up to 6 games, but now we've already going like this. They're going to happen. He's rubbish. He's okay, and then we're writing people off left, right, and centre, teams off. So everything can change. But as we talk right now, after 7 games, an international break upon us, I think Arsenal do look the team to beat, but do not write Liverpool off. But they have to find that belief again, because it has been difficult for them this pre-season. Make no mistake.
I think it's about who holds their nerve. When we won the title in 2012, we didn't believe we could win the title. Then United go points clear, or we were points clear. Then United went points clear. They dropped points, and then we had to go into the final stages needing to win. I think there's a different psychological battle with yourself and the team and everyone around you if you go 5 or 6 points clear. I would rather be chasing than be ahead like when we won the league, because no one's expecting you. I think Arsenal now, they've got the players, Jamie's alluded to it, they've got the squad, but they just need to get over the line, and that is the bit, because it's going to be, we were all saying Liverpool, weren't we? We was all saying Liverpool at the start of the season. Every pundit was, everyone was saying Liverpool. They was talking about all the signings, Isak going to be the different, Ekitike has been outstanding as well. And now, a week later, we're saying, well, Arsenal. I think it's just who holds the nerve the best at the right time.
And emotion
Correct.
Played a part. There's no doubt at all for Arsenal that emotion has got in the way in the last few years for Arsenal at times. They have to stay calm. But with the players they've got, the only thing is Odegaard picked up an injury yesterday, and he looks like he'd found a little bit of form again. But there's going to be so many twists and turns. And I looked at Man City first half today, and we both did, and we're like, wow, this looks like a real team.
But then you look at the second half, and Brentford could have easily nicked an equaliser.
Absolutely. With Thiago had a big moment in the first couple of minutes of the second half when he goes through, and that's why you pay the big money for Donnarumma. That's what he does. He was an amazing save at a really important time, because if it goes to 1-0, you never know, the game could then turn, and then you're massively under pressure.
So it's massive encouragement for Arsenal. Yeah. And you're talking about teams who win the title can sometimes drop silly points. And West Ham today, would that have been potentially the kind of game it has been in the past, where Arsenal have dropped points at home?
Maybe. I didn't expect them to, and they haven't done it. It looks like a solid 2-0 win. It's a good scoreline sometimes when you just clean sheet, you've scored 2 goals, you've done your job, and obviously the title rivals that you're up against at this moment in time go and basically lose. So what a week it's been for Arsenal. That was massive last weekend at Newcastle. As soon as that first goal went, I shouted the word big, because because I felt it was big, and then the second goal goes in and you're thinking, right, that's a big moment, that. Liverpool have lost on the Saturday at Crystal Palace. Arsenal have won. They needed that. They needed that. But I talk about intent a lot, and Mikel Arteta changed his intent about being positive and going for it and having to win and picking a positive team and then making really positive substitutions, just like Enzo Maresca's done here today for Chelsea. It matters. Your manager, you've got to stop listening to what they say and look at what they do during the game. That'll tell you everything. Are they pragmatic? Are they cautious? Are they, are they managers that, you can be cautious and pragmatic when you're 2-0 up at home. I'm sure Mikel Arteta today at 2-0 up against West Ham. We've won this game. We don't need to go and win it again. That's the time to keep possession and sort of move it around the back and maybe, just be a little bit more careful, because you don't want to, before an international break, you don't want to go and make a big mistake. But I think Arsenal are set up really nicely now. I think they'll see this last week as a massive week because of what they've done, but also because of what's happened with Liverpool. They've given them encouragement.
And you alluded to Mikel Arteta. I do recall during the COVID period when he was doing his news conferences, the one thing he mentioned was synergy. Yeah. And he says he needed the synergy between not only the players and himself, but with the fans as well. Yeah. Are we now seeing that circle completed with regard to Arsenal?
I would hope so, although going to Arsenal sometimes it can be quite a stressful experience. I think the fans are still slightly on edge on occasions. It does come quite quickly. It has definitely got better. The atmosphere is better. There is much more synergy, as you say, but I think there are occasions, and that Man City game was one recently, where I thought the frustration it's not always that far from the surface. And Jackie spoke before about the Manchester United fans and how patient they've been and how supportive they've been. I think the Arsenal fans have been supportive, but I think there's a lot of frustration there. I think they need to win something, and we can talk about culture, we can talk about all the great work he's done and great squad and promising manager and what a great job he's done in his first job as a manager. But you've got to win something. You talk about 300 games. He's the only one on that list who hasn't won anything, and that's not necessarily to criticise him, but there comes a time where you have to win, and he has to win a trophy. I really do think he has to win a trophy this season.
Do you feel that's...
Yeah, I just think it's not as simple as just that. I think this is very difficult. It's difficult because Liverpool also are a great team, because City are a great team, and I think
you
Arsenal...
to win it, Julian. You have to finally win something. We can talk about second place finishes and great club and great culture. I know City are great, Liverpool are great, but you have to win.
Yeah,
finally.
no, I agree with you. And I think he puts enough pressure on himself without us having to tell him, or the fans telling him, you need to win something. He knows that far too well, and he wants to win, and he wants that winning mentality to come through the club as well. So you don't just win once, but you keep winning. Basically, it's all about marginal gains with him. It's all about those small margins that he always talked about, which is great. I just think you need so much things to go your way. You could be a great coach, have great players. You just need to avoid that injury. You need to. This is it. They will be there or just about, and they might not win it, but they would not be far. I agree with you. Of course, to validate this project, you need to win something. It helps. But I think they're just heading in the right direction. I think there's a lot of top clubs in England who would like to be in their position. On the pitch, off the pitch, in terms of identity, that synergy that you mentioned. So they're good right now. It's just like, let's see where they are in 6 months' time.
And the women won the Champions League, of course, at the end of last season, which was huge for the club as a whole, with a genuine one-club mentality, which a lot of others don't have. They talk about they don't have. But Arsenal have got everything. They've got everything, and they just need to put it together to create that kind of consistency. And they've got characters. And we've got Declan Rice behind us here. What a leader he is. What a character. What a winner he is. And as a neutral, it'd be great to see them go on and do
Player of the year
special.
so far for me, Declan Rice. If he carries on like this, he will be Player of the Year, I think. He's been absolutely outstanding. I think he's been brilliant. And I think he's developing into one of the best midfielders in the world. And I know he came like 27th in the Ballon d'Or recently, but I think next year he'll be much higher in the rankings for that Ballon d'Or.
Just on something you mentioned before and the squad, everything seems to be in place, and the window that they had addressed a lot of the issues that they seem to have in previous seasons. And I think it's highlighted by the fact that their captain and their talisman almost in Martin Odegaard, a third injury so far this season. This time last year had it happened.
Yeah.
And we're not really talking, we'll just bring Zubimendi on.
But what's also interesting with Odegaard is there's been a lot of criticism of Odegaard, and he came back and he was brilliant. He was on it straight away. So that shows to me a player who knows his place isn't given anymore in the team. He may be captain, but it's not a given. He's got a lot of competition for his place, so he has to start showing it much more. And I was really interested how well he played when he came back. He was absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, he's got injured again, but I think that's partly because he's pushing himself so hard because of the competition he's now facing. And again, that's got to be healthy. No player's place should be a given, but you're absolutely right. Previously, this would have been an absolute disaster. You know, Martin Odegaard's injured. If Declan Rice gets injured now, it's terrible, but it's not a disaster. They have players there, very, Zubimendi, fantastic player, absolutely brilliant player. Didn't start yesterday, but you know, he could easily replace Declan Rice if he has to, or play alongside him. So he's got all those different options now. It really is in a strong position.
It's the impact as well, sorry, that the Serbs bring. So Jason mentioned Zubimendi yesterday, who came on. You know, it was not proper coaching for Arteta, he was just coming on for the injury of Odegaard, but the ball for Eze on the first goal that Rice scores comes from Zubimendi. The ball over the top for Timber for the penalty, that's Zubimendi as well. We saw the impact of Serbs against Newcastle or Manchester City in those two games. So this is it as well. You can have a big squad and not use it well, but when you have a big squad and use it well, and your coaching is working and your subs have an impact, that's where you're winning.
I mean, it is a squad game as well. I mean, like, people took the mickey a little bit out of Arteta when he talked about the starters and finishers, obviously taking that thing from Eddie Jones. But and we know he's in this WhatsApp group with all the different coaches. But he's right. Yeah. He's absolutely right. It is about starters and finishers, and players have to understand that. And even Gareth Southgate's talked about that as well with the England squad before. He said what they used to do was watch the demeanour of players on the bench to see how they behaved and what they were like when they came on and what they're like when they came off, because they've got to understand. Nowadays, a top player, he's not going to play 90 minutes every game. He just can't. It's impossible because of the intensity of the matches and also the need to change things. I think players have to accept they might just play 60, 70 minutes or even 20 minutes. But it's those 20 minutes, as we've seen a lot with Martinelli recently, has made a big difference.
You mentioned before that no one is guaranteed their place and the squad depth is such that there is big competition. Before, we would have been saying the same thing about Bukayo Saka, but when he's been injured so far this season, Arsenal have managed to cope. And in the Sunday Express, it's a nice piece about him having a ton of fun because in his 200th appearance, he made his 100th goal involvement for Arsenal.